Hello? Well, there we go. Okay, hi there. My name is Heather Bright, and I have the privilege of introducing Megan Hojanacki, our speaker for today about AAC, Augmentative and Alternative Communication. Megan has been a part of our lives for a few years now. She is a school-based speech pathologist for 18 years, and when we met her, we had just kind of dabbled into our journey of AAC with our 11-year-old daughter, Lydia, and she kind of was able to come in. I was so thankful that we got a new speech pathologist that knew what she was talking about. It was exciting, and not only did she share knowledge with us, but her passion that she imparted upon us too was just phenomenal. It just bled into every part of our lives and connected us with others. So her passion then became our passion, and then it's just kind of this thing that grows and exchanges and gets passed on. So here we are to share more passion, information, knowledge, and all of that with all of you. So please welcome the AC extraordinaire, Megan Hojanacki.
Hi everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? I was told to project my voice, so I'm going to use my speech therapist voice. Hopefully articulate very well. Thank you so much for having me here today. Like Heather said, communication is my passion, and I believe that everybody deserves a voice, and we just have to figure it out. So hopefully you'll get some ideas today if you haven't yet started a journey with your child of finding your own voice, or maybe you are already on that journey. Maybe some things will inspire you, and looking forward to also our next session, which will be more of an open mic to have some dialogue about whatever topics related to communication you're thinking about. So just a little bit more about me. This is my beautiful family at our cottage on the lake. We're from West Michigan. Go Blue. I realize I'm in Buckeye country. And so I have to do my father proud and say that I hail from the great state of Michigan. I happen to be a Michigan. Sorry, guys. I also do some contract work with Adult Shift, which is one of our state-funded organizations that we do work with accessibility, literacy, and math. So I'm one of their literacy contractors, and we are building capacity in our state for comprehensive literacy instruction for all students, especially those with significant disabilities. So that's another area, passion area of mine that I talk all day about, 3 days actually. So we'll impart a little bit of that today. So what are we here for today? Kind of 4 main buckets that we want to hit. The first one is I just want to define for you what autonomous communication is and what AAC is. We're going to bust some AAC myths, so we're going to do some myth busters today. We're going to explore some strategies for making your home a communication-rich environment. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to start your child's journey with AAC. But first, let's do the numbers. So that from the SAT-B2 registry, we know that 72% of individuals with SAT-B2 are primarily nonverbal communicators. So they primarily define nonverbal as those who reportedly use less than 10 spoken words in a day and use other means of communication more often than spoken language. 37% of individuals with SAT-B2 have 1 to 10 spoken words. And then 10% have greater than 50 spoken words. So what we're going to talk about today is how we can support our individuals with SAT-B2 that are fall to these numbers using AAC and the power that it can. Okay, so AAC. I'm an educator. In education, we like to throw around acronyms a lot, and I heard Heather call it alphabet soup. So the educational alphabet soup, AAC, just so we're all on the same page. AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication. It includes all the different ways that we communicate. So spoken language is one, but also gestures. Also facial expressions. Body language. And then there are some fancy tools like my iPad here. Assistive technology can fall under that AAC umbrella too. So we all use forms of AAC every day. And there's kind of a wide spectrum when we talk about AAC. There can be anything from non-electronic all the way to high-tech. So you just saw me use my high-tech communication device to say hello, but we also have things down here that are non-electronic that can be used for communication. So a core board. This is from Boards for Life, which is one of the really great, robust communication apps available out there in the market. I can still say things with this, like, I really like that we're at Kalahari Resort. We all get to play in the water. This is so exciting. So I can communicate with something that's not electronically based. We have our mid-tech things here in the middle. Our mid-tech things here in the middle, which can be a great bridge for some of our learners that are trying to get here to this high tech. We don't want to stay here for very long, and it's by no means a communication system, but it can be a nice tool depending on what task we're trying to get our learners to do or what we're trying to teach them for communication. So it's kind of a whole gamut, this AAC continuum. So now we know what AAC stands for. Let's talk a little bit about autonomous communication. So Gail Porter, who's done a lot of work in this area, is a creator of POD, which is a non-electronic communication system. She defines it as being able to say whatever you want, when you want, to whoever you want, in the way you want, or not. I don't know about you, I have 2 kids, and I can't make them say anything, right? We have to make them want to say it. I can't make them do anything, but I'm in the dishwasher. Okay, how many times do we have to tell them? So we have to understand that when it comes to communication, we can't make anybody say anything, but we can make them want to. So we're going to talk about some strategies later about how to do that. Autonomous communication is also what we call snug. So that's being able to spontaneously generate a sentence, right? So I bet someone here is thinking of maybe something that no one has ever said. Like, the purple dinosaur rode on top of the elephant while eating a banana. Do you think anyone has ever said that before? I don't know, maybe. But I was able to do that because I have so much language, and I was able to combine those words to make it right. So that is an example of a spontaneous, novel utterance generation. Anyone want to share one that they may be thinking of right now? Creative writers, anyone who's just thinking silly, maybe like, last year I'm going to be like, oh, the University of Michigan football team is going to win the 2024 national championship. Guess what? Other people have already come up with that one. So. Things to say. Okay, if you think of one, no. So that's the gift that we all probably all have in this room, is that we're able to say whatever we want, right? We're able to put whatever words we want together to communicate our thoughts, to connect with people, to connect with others. And that's what communication is really all about. Also, I wanted to note here that spelling is kind of one of the only ways that we're actually going to be autonomous communicators. So I worked at a camp one summer for students who use AAC, and one of the returning campers, fortunately from Ohio, no offense, and they came in and they were teasing the camp director about something that the Ohio state football team was going through. Anyway, he had to name the coach of the Ohio State football team, and he had to spell it out on his device because that name of that coach wasn't in his device. So he had to use spelling to formulate what he wanted to say, and that's just a great example of literacy, why literacy is so important, because it allows us to be autonomous communicators. So if we think of language development as a staircase, autonomous communication is kind of at the top, and like I said, that's the goal. So how do we get our students there? When a lot of us who use spoken language as our primary means of communication, we were spoken to before we were born, right? And when did we start actually talking? Probably around between 12, 18 months of age, right? So we were immersed in this language, in rich environments, and that's how we started talking. So for our SAT-P2 population, if we think about the fact that 76% only use 10 spoken words, how are we going to get them to the top of this staircase? We need to be immersing them in more language-rich environments that can include things like symbolic communication to help get them to that top of the staircase, to help them learn language. Okay, so here's a few reasons why we use AAC supports. AAC helps us, it provides a way to express our wants and needs, but also it creates that avenue for social interaction, because we know that language and communication isn't just about requesting. So I've been working in the schools for my whole career, and when I first started, the emphasis was really on requesting. So using an insurance exchange communication system, PECS, to start kids was kind of the gold standard back then, and not to say that's not a good avenue for some now, but that really the real emphasis on PECS is requesting. But we know that communication is much more than that. AAC can also help not with just expressive language, but also that receptive language too. So when we start representing what we're saying in with symbols, that can help some of our kids understand what we're saying better. So that receptive language can also be improved by using AAC. Because we're taking something that's abstract, like a spoken word, and making it more concrete. Also, AAC can provide a way to repair communication breakdowns. So let's say you might have a child that has verbal speech, but maybe it's not very intelligible. Maybe you can understand everything they say, but when they go to school or when they're out in the community, they have a harder time being understood by others. So AAC can help with that, can help level the playing field so everybody knows what your child is trying to say. So I like to think of AAC as a bridge and not as a last resort. AAC can be this transition. Let's say for I have a friend who called me when her son was 18 months because he only had a couple words, spoken words, and he had apraxia, which is a speech motor planning issue. So he had a hard time formulating speech. And so you'll see a picture of him later on, but what we started with him is just a basic communication board during mealtime. So he had a bridge from where he was now, with only those couple spoken words, and he was able to, with help from his family, use pictures or use those AAC supports to say some things that he wanted to say that, as you can imagine, help decrease his frustration. Because how frustrating is it when we're trying to say something and people can't understand us, right? Which kind of leads me into this next slide, why AAC is so important. The B and the SAT-B2 for behavior. Have you guys heard that all behavior is communication? Yeah. Communication is really the key component to decreasing problem behavior. From moving to unconventional behaviors to more conventional, and then eventually using language. So let me give you an example. I work at a center-based school with lots of different types of learners, and some of my students, autistic students, they use their unconventional behaviors to communicate. So when they don't like something, they throw it across the room. When they don't want you to be near them, they pinch you, they hit you, they push you away, etc. Right? So that's unconventional. It's not very appropriate for now. It's definitely not going to be as they get older, right? So adding some of these communication supports is really important to help decrease that problem behavior. Because once we're able to say what we want to say and have people understand us, that's when problem behaviors start to go away. Once we're regulated also, that's when we can learn. Our brains aren't wired to learn when they're not regulated. And so one way to do that is to be able to communicate. So I love this saying that what we sometimes see as a failure to behave properly is actually a failure to communicate properly. So as an educator, in supporting classrooms with really have students with a lot of problem behavior, that's when we try to turn it not on this is the child's fault, but what can we be doing as adults to help support these kids as they work through some of these behaviors, and how can we give them some of these tools to help them see that communication is a way to not only what they want, but also to complain, to tell you to go away, to tell you that maybe they like something or they just want to play with it. Maybe they're just talking about how they want to go home. And so replacing, again, I can't say it enough, replacing those problem behaviors with some communication supports. This is one of my favorite resources, the AAC coach. I know she's active on social media. She also has a website. She has these really great infographics. And so you'll kind of see a few of these sprinkled out throughout the presentation, but she has just a nice list of reasons of why we need to consider an AAC for someone who does speak. I hit on this one already as a way to repair those communication breakdowns when they're not understood. Yeah, so I would encourage you, there's like so many of these infographics. If you're trying to advocate for your child and educate others, sometimes less is more. And so I like these just as these bite-sized chunks when we're trying to help others understand how AAC can help our child. All right, one more reason why AAC is important. Communication is a human right. Which is why I continue to fight for my students and why I continue to show up to work every day. Is because they have the right to all these things. This is from the National Joint Committee for the Communication Needs of People with Severe Disabilities, or NJC. And what it says is to participate fully in communication interactions. Each person has these fundamental communication rights. Some of the things that I want to point out is the right to access AAC, the right to be spoken to and not about, the right to refuse or reject, Again, requesting has been such an emphasis in my educational career that when we teach kids to refuse or reject, that can actually be more powerful because maybe they're behaving that way because they don't like something. Maybe they're behaving that way because they are feeling anxious. So anyway, I keep coming back to this. I used to carry the laminated copy of this around in my backpack as like my arsenal when I would like go into team meetings sometimes to be like, guys, we gotta get our students here. How do we do this? Okay, so hopefully we have a little bit of the alphabet soup figured out. We learned what AAC stands for. We know that autonomous communication should be the goal for every human being living on this earth. If they're breathing, then they meet that criteria. So now we get to bust some AAC myths. This is one of my favorite things to do because lots of times I've sat in team meetings or parent meetings and family members and teaching staff too can be very confused about why would we want somebody to use this when they have this? And again, think of that bridge, right? If they're not using this very well, something like this can really help them, even if it's just temporarily. All right, so let's bust it. Myth number 1, AAC limits speech development. So there's a lot of research that says this is a myth, that in fact, AAC can help with both speech and language development. So remember we were talking about how picture communication can really make things more concrete for spoken language that's so abstract. So that's how we can support the language development. Speech development, I've worked with a lot of students who introduce AAC with them and they're maybe trialing their communication device. They don't have any spoken language yet, especially a lot of the autistic students I've worked with. And there's no timeline, but maybe a few years later they start to use some spoken words. So that AAC itself isn't going to stop them from developing oral speech. In fact, I would like to think, and this is true, that we take the path of least resistance, right? So did anyone on their way down to the room today go outside and take that path to get here? Or did we all walk inside? That was the path of least resistance, right? That was the easiest way to get to this room today. So a child who has some communication supports like this, they're not going to then rely on this to communicate, not use any other method to communicate. They're going to do what's ever best for them, and it's very situational too. So maybe they're feeling anxious, and their verbal speech isn't coming out because of their motor planning issues. That's when they might rely on more picture-based communication. So, yep, debunked. We know that AAC can actually help with speech and language development. Right? Prerequisites. Let's just throw those all out the window, guys. There are no prerequisites for using AAC or for starting. Oh, but there's just one actually. You have to be alive. That's it. You have to be breathing. And guess what? You don't even have to be really breathing on your own necessarily. I have students in my school who have a full-time nurse with them because they're trained, right? And so they have breathing support, but guess what? We're still working on communication with them. So there's also no, remember our spectrum of AAC supports. You don't have to start with low tech or paper-based before you go to a high tech, okay? You don't have to start with PECs. You don't have to start with requesting. None of that. When I was in grad school, this was not necessarily the case about 20 years ago. It was, we have to start with objects before our learners can understand what a symbol means. No, we don't. We just have to start using it. Because remember, the way that we learn to speak is by being spoken to. And so when we start to use some of these supports, our children can learn how to communicate using these too. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. I probably have some late places. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, buts. Yeah, but my child is 20 months old, and the pediatrician is saying that just to wait and see. You can still start introducing communication supports, or AAC. Yeah, but my child has fine motor difficulties, and so they can't like touch a screen very well. Nope. Guess what? We have accommodations for that. Make it work. Any other yeah buts that you guys have heard? Maybe someone's in your child's life say?
Yeah, they're too old.
Oh, perfect. They're too old. They missed the critical window. Yeah, no, that's not true. We debunked that.
We've actually been told that it's too early. That
Yeah.
we need to wait a little longer and see what's.
Wait and see. Yeah, no, we don't have to wait and see. Why would we do that? It's like, same thing with someone who has a hearing impairment. Like, why would we wait and see if their hearing's going to get better before we give them a hearing aid? Or why, if they need any support with walking, why would we wait and see? Let's just see if it gets better first before we give them this amazing tool that can help them right now. Yeah, so no yeah buts. Thank you for sharing those.
Eye contact for attention.
Yes, oh, but they're not looking. You don't look when I use this with them. So you're really not benefiting from it. It's because we need to change our approach, right? And take ownership that it's not a student problem or a child problem, it's the adult problem. So no yeah buts, guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I kind of debunked this one already, but it's starting with that light tech. We don't have to do that. In fact, if you're sitting here today and you're like, I kind of understand what she's saying, and I think that maybe my child could benefit from something like this, but I don't know where to start. Start with something really big. Be brave, be bold, because our kids are amazing, and they surprise us every day, and we have no idea. We have no idea what's going on in their heads unless they have a way to communicate. Yeah.
We got our device when my daughter was, we got our device when my daughter was about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. And like the first page was simple, but she slowly started navigating and finding pages that I didn't even know were there. And then she was asking for animal sounds and going through vegetables and like all these pages I didn't edit down, and she was going through them. So yes.
Yes. I love that. They're like light years ahead of us, aren't they? Yeah.
I have to second that because my daughter was given a device from school and they started with 10 words and she was struggling with it, and my husband and I put a million words on it and it was like a light switch. So sometimes they might not have that attention because they're bored with it and it's not enough for them.
Amen, sister. Thanks for taking risks, guys, and sharing out. I love this. Anybody else?
I think that since we decided we're going to start with a robust system, it's something really we need family, teachers, and therapists to do this together. We cannot do this just at school and family doesn't use it. We need to communicate with them using the AAC, right? Like a second language. So that's how it works there. The therapists insisted that we started that, and we were thinking, oh, he doesn't like to do this. He doesn't like to use the tablet. And so since we decided that we're going to do this together with the school teacher and the therapist, he started working, and his cognitive issues really increased with that. his language, he had something to talk about, to say. I imagine that he didn't have much to say since he didn't understand images, it sounds.
That's perfect. So yeah, the bridge between home and school is super important. Whatever they're doing at school, you should definitely have access to at home, which I have a couple slides about that in terms of how you can advocate for those things. But thanks for that reminder. There are so many knowledgeable others in this room, by the way. You guys are full of great experiences and knowledge. So yeah, I can't wait for the next session to dive deeper into that too. Yeah, so these are just some examples, screenshots of robust communication systems. I am by no means selling any of these, so I have no ties financially to any of this. But you'll notice that there's a lot on here, right? Like it can be a little overwhelming and intimidating. So if you're sitting there going, yeah, but there's too many on there. How is my kid gonna learn? How am I gonna learn? That's when you need to go back to your team of people. And if you don't have a team of people, I got you. Point you in the right direction.
So my kiddos started with LAMP, and they did the same thing where they got like 3 buttons or something, and then I was seeing, I didn't think she was really using it, and to be honest, we weren't paying for that at home. So now when she starts the next school year, because she does go to public school, she has an amazing team. Very good. What is the device that most people are using? Because I've heard Pro and Quo when I was in Arkansas at a clinic last month. I kind of wanted to know what I'm going to tell them that I want to speak so.
It's definitely a case-by-case individual basis. I would say what you see up here are a lot of people are using. Words for Life is, I think, one of the most robust, depending on your child.
Right.
But there's so many. The motor planning component of Words for Life is so fantastic. Can we pause this just for a second, because I know that I have slides on this later too, but it's there's no wrong answer to that. It's really what your child needs, and that feature matching of what they need to what the system can actually provide them what they need is the most important. Okay, so I have a Dora the Explorer reference here because it's in my head sometimes. Swiper, the fox, he likes to steal things. And so, like myth number 4 says, it's best to wait and see for speech to develop. We've been talking about this one. So Swiper will take something and they're like, so I was like, oh no, you took my whatever. And he's like, haha, you're too late. So, no, you're not too late for AAC ever. You're not too young or too old. You're not too impaired. You're not too this. You're not too blind. You're not too whatever. Oh yeah, buts, guys. Myth number 5, I think this is the last one, is the use of AAC is all or nothing. So this is their communication system. This is what they need to be using. Oh, they just did this? Oh no, tell me with your words. The kid's like trying to hit you because they already did this. It's a sign for more. But you just were like, no, say it this way because it's super. So no, the use of AAC is not all or nothing. And my reminder for this is sweet Lydia. Does anybody know Lydia here? Because if you don't, she's amazing. It happens to be the daughter of their name up here. So Lydia was my student for a few years. I was blessed with the opportunity to work with her. And she is this multimodal communicator. She communicates in so many different ways. Sitting with her at breakfast this morning, she was signing. She was using verbal speech. She was gesturing. She didn't have her device with her that I saw, but like, that's cool because she had familiar communication partners around her who knew what she was saying. So life was good, right? I just think that Lydia is such a great example of how AAC can be a piece of somebody's communication tool belt, that all the different wonderful ways that we communicate. And one thing I love about Lydia too, you'll see a picture later, but Lydia uses the spelling page on her communication device quite frequently, right? Most exclusively right now. So she knows where a lot of vocabulary is using her icon or picture sequences, but she can also spell on her keyboard because guess what? Someone believed that she could learn to read and write, so they taught her how. And that's the gift of literacy that every student deserves, and why Lydia is able to say whatever she wants to say, to whoever she wants to say to, when she wants to say it, even when she's in the lake. So how do we do that? How do we figure that one out, right? Yes. Oh.
It's about this, I'm going crazy to school because my son fell. And they don't like it. Wanting to use the icon. And because there's like spelling, there's like a little thing, that
Word prediction?
the word.
Yes.
So they're saying, well, this is cheating.
Wait, he's spelling and reading? That's totally cheating. Just kidding. But he's communicating. Yeah.
I just want to be, happier. Now I can go back and say, you're cheating.
Yeah, you're cheating. You're the cheaters. That's right. No, we really need to be honoring all forms of communication. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, like I've totally been there as a therapist to be like, yes, but like, look at how much faster you could say whatever with your icons, right? With going here and there versus spelling it out letter by letter. That's, I'm not the user, right? I'm not the communicator. It's not my message. So educating others that, yes, exactly, yeah. And also like, that's amazing that he's using word prediction. So you guys know when you're texting and those words pop up, it's called word prediction. So he's a really savvy communicator, I can tell, I didn't even know. Okay.
The other thing with that is a lot of parents or any of our therapists try to utilize what we can talk through college or like school child or what we can see. So for me, the way I fight back them is what hurts you trying it or pushing it or giving her more than you think she can do, and she can't. You can move it back, but you gotta have therapists involved with you that are willing to say, all right, let's go outside the box a little bit because we're all taught to do things a certain way, especially if they're placing yourself to learn. Until you see it happen, that's what happened with me with the communication device. We fought, and she was saying, we fought so hard to get more words, and finally we were just like, give us the password, and then we took the password, and we put a million words, and they were like, whoa, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, that did work. And then now they don't, so it's, but you also have to be in tune enough that if it doesn't work, to have the reality, maybe you do send back. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, I guess, but just having that open mind here.
Sure, have you heard of like presuming competence? That's kind of like a buzz saying, it's been for a while, or presuming positive potential, presuming competence. It's all relatively the same, but it's really like believing that they can do it. Yes, meet them where they are, but nudge a little. And also know where you're going up that staircase and how are we going to get there, because I know that they can get there.
So you need to staircase materials because it's not just a straight line.
Yes, and everybody's timeline is different with that. Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're going to go through some strategies for how to support communication at home. Just to double check. So I will leave like pulled off the stage at 10:50. Okay. Okay, so you've seen me do a little bit of pointing to some pictures while I'm talking, and that's called aided language stimulation. It's a really fancy research term. You might also see it in research as aided language input. There's probably another couple that I'm missing, but it's basically modeling or demonstrating the use of AAC while you're also using spoken language. So this video does a really great job of explaining.
Created using Powtoon.
Here's what we saw in the video. We saw Josie, who was learning to communicate. So maybe someone gave her advice, but she didn't know how to use it. So she wasn't using it. And Fiona was like, well, maybe we need to start using it so she knows how. And then she started using it, which is like really great if it all goes that smoothly. And it doesn't. So, and it might take years and years instead of months and months. That's okay. And also, like, you're probably not going to be doing it all day long at home because that's not realistic either. One thing that you notice too is she said go, I think, and then the dad said like go to the store, go in. So he was modeling one step above, like he was pointing to those pictures and using those icons to model a 2-word phrase because she said a 1-word phrase. So that's kind of a great rule of thumb when you're first getting started with kiddos is, or any age human being, is that if they're starting to use some words to communicate, that we're modeling one step above where they're at. Let's see what I want to say about that. And just showing them more conventional ways, like we talked about, to communicate. So if you're able to, maybe if you start to see your child getting upset, you could say something like, feel. See you starting to feel frustrated. I find my students that when I start to slow down, because this slows me down naturally, that can help right regulate, and also you're teaching them a more conventional way to express their emotions. Just kind of a side note on that, but so modeling and demonstrating is probably the most important thing that we can be doing, regardless of what kind of support or tool we're teaching our children. Us using it ourselves is going to help them learn how to use it and communicate. So you guys all have a core board on your desk. I call it a core board because most of the, all of the robust AAC systems these days are set up with core vocabulary words, which are just 80% of the words that we use most frequently in our language. This is LAMP Words for Life, same as my poster. Just take a second, take it in. I know it's a lot. I challenge you to first look at the pictures, but then look at the words. Because the words don't always go with the pictures, but don't worry about that. So it's mealtime and someone's getting angry, and you happen to have one of these core boards in your kitchen. What's something that we could say? Eat. Where's eat? Down the bottom of the apple. That makes sense, doesn't it? Eat. Oh, it looks like you want to eat. I see you banging your fist on the table. Maybe you're hungry. What else could we be saying? This core board. Feel. I see. I have some tears. Maybe you're feeling really sad because you think I'm not going to feed you today. Yes, I am. It's coming. It's just taking longer. Good job. Yes. Feel. What else?
More want.
More. Want. Yeah. Oh, wait. Ketchup is gone. It looks like you might want more. You want more ketchup, I think. So, love. Love you. I'm so glad you're here. So do you see how I just pointed to a word with my laser pointer? But I said the whole sentence. And I can combine the words. Want more. You want more. To show that, oh, maybe they're using single words. I'm going to model a 2-word symbols, but I'm going to say the whole thing. A parent once told me during a training session, oh, so I need to model like Tarzan, talk like Jane. Yes, you've got it. You guys don't know that right, so you have to watch Tarzan, but it's kind of how modeling or demonstrating works, that needed language. So, in terms of like time and stuff, I will just keep going, and then, people who need to break or go somewhere, you do you. We're just gonna keep going here, I think, that's okay, and then, maybe we could pause. Let's pause. We'll pause, we're gonna pause right here. This will roll into the next session, but we'll still have a lot of time for some Q&A questions.